All right, with that said, I wanted to go to our O-Scale modeling segment. This is sponsored by the O-Scale Central organization. And Dan, Phil, if we could play that sponsorship video, please.
I'm David Vaughan of O-Scale Central. O-Scale 2-rail, models built to 1:48 scale and running on 2-rail track, is the best-kept secret in model railroading. We're pleased to team with Jim Kello to introduce O-Scale 2-rail to NewTrack's viewers. O-Scale 2-rail is for modelers. At twice the scale and 8 times the mass of HO, O-Scale's heft and ease of modeling create an outstanding model railroading experience. O-Scale 2-rail modeling is as varied as railroading itself. Modern era, transition or old time, standard gauge or narrow. A wide variety of models is available at affordable prices. There is a supportive community and lots of shows, clubs, and events. You can explore O-Scale 2-rail by going to our website, oscalecentral.com. You will find information about the scale and how to get started, as well as a free, searchable, scale-wide product and service guide and listings of coming O-Scale events. You will also find information about how to join O-Scale Central. We promote O-Scale 2-rail and support modelers in the scale. When your eyes are going bifocular, when you need fresh challenges, keep O-Scale 2-rail in mind. Check us out, oscalecentral.com. Thanks.
Well, now I want to introduce our special guest this evening. Dave Schultz, who normally does the hosting for this segment, is not available this week. He had an obligation that he couldn't get out of. And I had asked Al Judy to replace him. The problem with that was Al got sick and he couldn't be here. So I called my friend Dave Vaughan and didn't give him very much notice to do this, but he was kind enough to drop what he was doing and say, okay, I'll do it. So let me introduce the president of the O-Scale Central organization, Mr. David Vaughan.
Well, thank you, Jim. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on NewTrack's modeling. And I want to thank you, Jim, and the people that work with you for the support you've given to model railroaders and model railroading in general, but in particular, your support for O-Scale 2-rail and for O-Scale Central. We are happy to work with you. Okay. And I don't want to step on my own 2-minute commercial that was playing there. I will say that bigger is better in model railroad scales, as well as a lot of other things in life. And at 8 times the mass, O-Scale is easier and more satisfying to build and more satisfying to view and operate. Individual models stand out compared to smaller scales. Costs are not out of line. The space shortage, which you can experience in 2-rail O-Scale, can be overcome with shelf layouts, selective compression, modular layouts, and clubs. So we have a great scale, and we want to tell everybody about it, and NewTrack's is one way we get to do that. So I thank you very much. I want to go on and talk a little bit about some things that are going to happen quickly in the future of O-Scale that are very positive and something that people may not have completely thought through. But before that, I want to chat briefly with a subject of some sadness. Model railroading is a hobby that a lot of guys, and especially in O-Scale, because most of our people are second or third scale by the time they get to O-Scale 2-rail. We deal with the fact that a lot of our friends and fellow modelers pass away, and we don't have the capability to recognize everyone here, everybody in our small scale is a friend. A lot of us know each other. But in particular, I have one friend that I want to recognize and memorialize because he has been so important to the scale and to O Scale Central, and that is George Wallace, who passed away at the end of May. George was a longtime officer and advisor, first to O Scale Kings and then to O Scale Central as the successor organization. And George was so stalwart, such a consistent supporter of the organizations. I've told people that I think that sometimes he was the only thing that was holding O Scale Kings together. And he stuck around for O Scale Central and the revitalization that we've had. George was a wonderful guy, great modeler, Milwaukee Road modeler, very active in Southwest O Scale annual shows and in the Oklahoma City O Scale Club. Most people did not know that George was also a decorated fighter pilot in the Vietnam War. He flew over 100 combat missions in F-105s and was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross um, among many other honors that he received. I want to simply recognize George's contribution and George's memory, which everybody in the O Scale community is very well aware of. I'll take a moment of silence on that. Thank you. So, given what we said in the 2-minute commercial, why isn't everybody who's a model builder an O-scaler rather than in one of the smaller scales or 3-rail? And for starters, the lack of visibility of the scale means that a lot of people are not aware of O-scale 2-rail as an option. I know the regular contributors to and participants in new tracks are very well aware of that because of Jim's efforts and Dave Schultz and others of us. But a lot of the hobby is not aware of it, and that has some interesting consequences because I think there is a popular view that the hobby may have passed O-scale 2-rail behind, even though people recognize some of its advantages. And what it does mean is that the smaller number of O-scale 2-rail modelers limits the number of models that can be sold, the length of the runs that manufacturers can support, and it makes them reluctant to make the necessary investments in tooling, mold making, manufacturing processes, marketing, and distributions. We look very enviously at companies like Rapido and Scale Trains and Tangent, Broadway Limited, who are really cutting edge companies. They are flooding the market with quality and variety that is just breathtaking in both HO and N. And while our craftsmen building one-offs can outshine the best of the mass-produced models, that's not a sufficient route to actually build the scale. To grow O-scale 2-rail, we need to provide modelers, not only those who are already in the scale, but those who would get in the scale, with a broad variety of quality engines, rolling stock, accessories, and detail parts. And for reasons that I mentioned, that's not going to happen through conventional production of injection molded, mass-produced products. And so we are hardly a beacon if you're looking at the hobby and from that perspective. But help for O-scale is on the way. Good times are ahead. And I want to outline just a little bit about how the future is going to unfold. And CAD driven and 3D printed are the key words. And I want to flag some particular projects that reflect some of the opportunities and innovative thinking about what can be done. I want to start. I need to share the screen a bit here, and I'm doing this on somewhat short notice. So some of the um, some of the technological stuff is going. Now, let me ask Jim or Phil, can you see?
Yep, it's
A,
beautiful. Just keep going. You're doing great.
all right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Dylan Lambert of Lambert Locomotive Works has been doing some great stuff with CAD design, 3D printing on a production basis. He's done a G39 Pensior Jenny, which has never been done in the scale. He's sold over 120 kits at $45 a piece. Uh, he's got a Boston and Albany commuter coach and a center beam lumber flat. And right now, he is working on a Lima diesel switcher. I'm a nickel plate guy, and nickel plate had these, and Lima was an on-site customer, so I'm particularly excited about that. And it's going to be done this summer. The first shot on your screen is a 3D printed model of that. This has never been done in O scale, and I think Overland may have done one in HO, but they're scarce. This is an actual 3D printed version of the Lima switcher, and it is going to be available in August. The frame is going to be designed to fit All Nation or Stanton. That's the underfloor transmission and motor. And this is really good work. One of the beauties of 3D printing is this is about the 25th, I think Dylan said, version of this. Every version he makes changes to improve the model and adapt the frame and the trucks. And this is just incredibly going to be an incredibly positive addition to the hobby. He'll probably sell, maybe 25 of them. That's not going to get you to an injection molded kit, but on 3D printing, it works really well. Many of you are aware, I'm sorry for the quality of this photograph, I just didn't have the time to clean it up, but many of you are aware of mini prints. They've got hundreds of detail parts from everything railroad related to a lot of really mundane line side scenes. You want a model wheelchair, mini prints has got you covered. Or an outhouse if you're into that flavor of scenery. I will warn you, by the way, that because I did it over the course of the last couple of days, that it is a wonderful way to get lost on the internet and spend a lot of money on neat little parts that you never knew you needed. But here's the kicker. The parts that you can order from MiniPrint, you can get in any of the major scales. So everything they have is available in 1 to 48, hundreds and hundreds of little scenery accessories and so on. And O scale will operate as it usually doesn't on an equal basis with all the other scales. And other than using a little bit more resin, the printer really doesn't care which scale it's printing in. There's a guy named Adam Chilcote of Plate C Models. Some of you may know him. He's a young professional engineer, and he has made some really marvelous CAD drawings of trucks. He's got about 30 different varieties, including a lot that never were made before, even in HO scale. as well as a lot of detailed parts and a couple of kits. I ran into Adam at an RPM meet. He had a table full of HO scale trucks. I said, "Can you do these in O scale?" And a lot of guys will give you a long rap about how complicated it is, and you got to do this and you got to do that. And Adam's answer was one word. He said, "Sure." And so I have been, through my little company, selling the O scale versions on the left there, you can tell, of the HO scale trucks. And among other things, the trucks that are in this photograph are the ones that are used for Dylan Lambert's G39 Origines. And I am going to segue from Adam's Plate C models into Matt Herman at 3D Central. I'm sorry, this is not the greatest photograph in the world, but it gives you a little flavor at the Railroad Prototype Modelers meet in Cocoa Beach. Matt Herman, who runs 3D Central, had several tables of models and different pieces and parts. Most of them were in HO scale, a few in N and a couple in O. But Matt is probably the new generation. I think he's probably going to be the new business model that will supersede whatever comes out of Shapeways, because Matt he has 36 printers going right now and a number of people who are working for him. And they are busily working to bring into focus a lot of the stuff that he has done the drawings for, actually his brother, and then a bunch of people who are working basically making their own stuff, sort of like Shapeways, but I think better. And what Matt Herman at 3D Central has said to me is, if we can print it in any other scale, a few tweaks and a little bit of adjustment, and we can do it in O scale too. We know that we are never going to be as big as HO scale, hard as we might try. So there are always going to be more CAD drawn projects that in HO and other scales than we have for us. But the path that 3D Central is leading is going to give us the ability to take other scales projects and convert them to O. And finally, I want to look at a particular project that you all may or may not be familiar with. I remember building an Ambroid kit for a U.S. Navy helium car. And I don't remember how many gallons of sanding sealer I went through, but it was quite a few. And the results were not all that great then. Well, you can 3D print a car like this helium car, which actually includes the interior helium tanks printed in full dimension with all of the gaps between the tanks and so on. Really, really stunning work. A company called Beaver Models, beavermodels.com, is doing this. And my guess is that the guy who developed this probably started with the HO scale version of the kits. But the important thing is he's able to do this with the same CAD drawings and only a little bit of adaptation to go from HO directly into O. He offers both scales on his website. Here's another view of that helium car. And what ties all of these different projects that I've talked about together is the inherent ease with respect to which improvements and adaptations can be made on CAD designed models. And even more important, the inherent scalability of these projects. We're not going to replace HO as the majority scale anytime soon, although I would remind people that objects in the mirror are closer than they may appear. But they're going to be still going to be a lot of projects that are going to be HO or N rather than O. And while it's a little more complicated than this, O-scale models are just a little bit more than making a change to the printer instructions to adapt from an HO scale project. So the takeaway is that CAD design 3D printing is the next big thing. And what I've just described is only the front end of the change that's coming. It's going to affect everybody, but nowhere will the positive impact of this revolution be felt more directly in O scale. Models will be produced in the scale with no tooling and mold making costs, no elaborate manufacturing processes, no minimum runs, no inventory considerations. This will be the model railroad equivalent of changing from cameras and film to digital photography. Every modeler becomes his own manufacturer. Every scale becomes equal in terms of access to model production. So for the O-scalers there, pull out the plans for your projects, jigger the drawings, instruct the printer, or have professionals like 3D Central do it for you, and watch as many or as few of your favorite O-scale dream model as you need come out of the printer. If you are not yet in O-scale, now is a great time to get in because the easy availability of O-scale two-rail models on an equal basis will make it a lot easier for people to explore the scale, to get more of the modeling satisfaction of working with O-scale models when they do. And I'm here to tell you that the future of O-scale two-rail is coming, and it's going to be cool. Thank you.
David, thank you so very much. Does anybody have any questions for David? David, I've got one. I've been hearing lately from O-scalers that they are super impressed with what Lionel is producing, that they love some of the detail, that they love some of what the product that they've seen from Lionel. And it seems like it's awfully easy to convert Lionel from the three railers to a scaled two rail with scale couplers. It's no big deal anymore. At least that's what I'm hearing. Based on that, it seems to me that coupled with the 3D printing capability for the small manufacturer, I'm interested in having Lionel, if I can find a way to talk to the right person, to come on the show and talk about what Lionel is doing to try to appeal to the O-scale two-rail market. Because if what I'm hearing is true, some of the product that's coming out of Lionel looks awfully, awfully good.
Lionel has done some very nice tooling over the years, and it is correct that in some of the rolling stock that they have, you can tinker with it relatively easily by replacing the crab claw couplers and the trucks with the pie cutter flanges. And you know, it's like going to the toy store and looking for vehicles that fit your scale. They may not be intended for that, but they certainly are able to be adapted.
Yep.
The engines are more difficult, and there are ways to do it, and there are actually a few people who have specialized over the years in making those conversions. But the mechanisms are pretty difficult to work with. The boilers and the tenders, again, can be very nice tooling, but it's not a walk in the park to make an engine conversion from Lionel. The
Right.
flanges, the wheelbase, they make things hard, and some people, I do not have firsthand knowledge, but you have to be careful of the quality control on the new Lionel stuff. They have gone up and down in terms of their quality control.
I've heard the same thing. I just think I think it'd be interesting to hear what they have to say about what their company's
Yeah.
future
We
may
we
hold.
we keep hoping that they will follow the path that MTH was on before they disrupted their own business model and have both two rail and three rail mechanisms and conversions. So far, I haven't seen any of that, but I live in hope.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for doing this tonight, David. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. I'm going to have to jump off in a few minutes. This was not on my calendar for the evening, but I'm happy to help. And I always enjoy uh, talking with you, Jim, and with the energy that you bring to the model railroad hobby. Thank you.
Thanks so much, David. See you later.
Take care.